"You're not welcome this Christmas." That's what my daughter told me. No anger, no explanation, just those 6 words. Like a cold slap across the face, I stood there in my Scottsdale villa, mug of coffee in hand, the Arizona sun pouring through the windows, warm, mocking, while my heart froze. 30 years, 3 full decades of being her everything. Her father, her bank, her backup plan. I paid her college tuition. All 4 major changes. I funded her wedding, 45 grand, no questions asked. I gave her and her husband the down payment for their dream home. $80,000, just like that. Every call, every text started the same way. "Dad, I hate to ask, but she always did, and I always gave. And now she wants space." During the one holiday I always dreamed of spending with family, I didn't reply with rage, or guilt, or begging to be included. I smiled, put down my mug, and picked up my phone. It was time. Time to show her what Christmas looks like, when it's filled with people who actually want you there. This wouldn't be a quiet holiday. No, this would be a party, a celebration, a declaration, one she'd never forget. His name is Richard Turner, 62 years old, widowed, retired aerospace engineer from Colorado Springs. He used to design things that fly, satellites, jet engines, dreams with wings. But the most important thing he ever built was a life for his daughter Emily. When his wife passed away, Emily was just 7, tiny, afraid of thunder, always asking, "Will you still be there if I wake up?" And he always was. Every night, every morning, every report card, every school play. He made her lunch until she left for college. He cried the day she drove away, then wired her first rent check the same week. Emily was his world. Not because he had no one else, but because he chose her above everything. He worked double shifts, missed promotions, said no to vacations, all so she could say yes to her future. People called him a soft dad, too gentle, too forgiving. But he didn't care. He wore his softness like armor, because to him, fatherhood wasn't a duty. It was a promise. And for 30 years, he never broke it, until the moment she did. Richard never tracked how much he spent, but he remembered the moments. Emory University, $62,000 a year. She changed majors 3 times. Psychology, then marketing, then finally business. Every shift in direction he supported. Whatever helps you grow, he told her, even when it meant refinancing his home twice. Then came the wedding. She said, "It has to be magical, Dad." And it was. Crystal chandeliers, a violin quartet, a dress that cost more than his first car. Richard paid for it all. $47,000. He didn't blink. He stood at the end of that aisle, heart full, eyes misty, thinking she's finally getting everything she deserves. Then the down payment. They found the perfect house in suburban New York, quiet street, room for future kids. He gave them $85,000. No loan, no contract, just trust. And when those future kids didn't come, he never asked why. He just kept wiring the mortgage help. Roof repair, car trouble, credit card debt, last-minute vacations. Every month something. Every time the same words, "Dad, I hate to ask." But she did, and he always said yes. Not because he had to, but because it's what fathers do. He thought love meant never letting her feel the struggle. He didn't know. She had already stopped feeling the sacrifice. Richard didn't ask for much. Not for recognition, not for repayment, not even for thank you. All he ever wanted was Christmas. Just one night a year, where the house smelled like cinnamon, where lights twinkled, and laughter echoed down the hallway. He used to dream about it. Emily arriving with gifts in her arms. Her husband trailing behind, awkward but smiling. Maybe someday grandkids running past his feet. They'd eat together, tell stories, drink wine by the fireplace he built himself. That was the image. Year after year, that one small hope, a real Christmas, a family Christmas. So when he bought the villa in Scottsdale, that's what he pictured. A home big enough to host, a kitchen wide enough for 3 generations, a dining table long enough to fit everyone. He decorated it himself. Garland down the staircase, stockings labeled with names that didn't exist yet. Even a nativity scene in the garden. He wasn't lonely, but he was waiting, and this year finally he invited her. Formally. Handwritten card, gold-trimmed envelope. He set it on her doorstep. Signed it with all my love. Dad. No reply, not for a week. Then his phone buzzed. Just one message. 6 words. We'd rather not have you this year. He stared at the screen. 6 words. Black letters on white, colder than any snowstorm he'd ever known. We'd rather not have you this year. No call, no explanation, no sorry, Dad, no maybe next week. Just silence, then that. He didn't cry, he didn't scream. He just sat, on the edge of his leather couch, phone in one hand, invitation list in the other. 30 years of giving, of sacrificing, of choosing her first. And now he wasn't even invited to his own family. He read the message again and again, until the words stopped hurting and started burning. This was different. This wasn't her asking for help. This was her telling him he didn't belong. She didn't want his presence, only his support, only the check, not the chair beside the fire. He'd been useful, not loved, needed but never wanted. And for the first time in decades, he felt it. Sharp, real, unforgivable. And so he didn't reply, didn't ask why, didn't beg. He stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the garden he lit up for her, and whispered, "Let's see what Christmas looks like," without me begging to be part of it. He didn't sleep that night, not because of sadness, but because of clarity. Something inside him shifted. He had spent decades building a life not just for Emily, but for himself. And he had a beautiful home, a warm kitchen, a dining room that could seat 12, a backyard big enough for laughter. So why should it sit silent? Why should it echo with absence when it could ring with joy? He grabbed his leather notebook, the one he used back in his engineering days, and flipped to a blank page. He wrote 3 words across the top. Christmas guest list. The first name, Robert, his younger brother, the only one who never asked for money, just time. Then Sarah, Robert's wife. She always hugged him twice at every reunion. Then Tom and Linda Richardson. Old colleagues, they'd stuck with him even after he retired. Patricia Webb, investor, friend, the only one who'd celebrated when his crypto portfolio exploded in 2018. He kept writing. Names flowed faster than regrets. By sunrise, there were 10 names. 10 people who wanted nothing from him, except his presence. He looked at the list, smiled. For the first time in years, he wasn't waiting to be included. He was doing the inviting. He made the first call at 8:01 a.m. Robert, his brother, answered on the second ring. David Roberts said, "Is everything okay?" There was concern in his voice, genuine concern. "I'm hosting Christmas dinner," Richard said. "My place. No drama, just real people." Silence, then a laugh. "Hell yes. Sarah's been dying to see that new villa of yours." Richard chuckled, then paused. "Would you mind calling Mark and Janet? I'd love them to come too." "You got it." Robert's voice softened. "I'm proud of you, big brother." Next was Tom Richardson. Tom nearly dropped the phone. "David, we've been waiting for this invite for years," Linda chimed in from the background. "Tell him I'm bringing my famous pecan pie." One call turned into two, two into five. By noon, the group chat was buzzing. GIFs, memes, jokes about old office Christmas parties. Not one person asked, "Why now?" Not one person said, "Shouldn't you be with family?" Because they were family, the kind you choose. For Richard, it wasn't just a guest list anymore. It was a reminder. He hadn't been forgotten. He had simply forgotten how deeply he was still loved. He started with the dining room. 12 chairs. He wiped each one by hand. Polished the wood until it gleamed like purpose. He opened the linen drawer. Pulled out the white tablecloth he'd been saving for a Christmas that never came until now. Next was the menu. Not catered, not store-bought trays. He wanted it to matter. Prime rib for Morton's, roasted garlic potatoes, grilled asparagus, cranberry chutney homemade, and Patricia's tiramisu. He texted her, "If you bring it, I'll call it dessert. If not, I'll cancel the meal." She replied with a winking emoji and a recipe screenshot. Then the wine cellar. He opened the cabinet like a vault. Pulled out the 2016 Napa Reserve he'd been saving. For what? He couldn't even remember anymore. But now he had a reason. He had guests. He had joy. The Christmas playlist came next. Jazz, Frank Sinatra, and one very intentional song, "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas." He dimmed the lights, lit the candles, turned on the fireplace, then stood back and looked at the home he built. It wasn't just a house anymore. It was a statement. He wasn't waiting to be invited. He was creating the place where people wanted to come. The doorbell rang. 6:00 p.m. sharp. Richard took a breath, straightened his shirt, opened the door. Robert stood there grinning, holding a bottle of red. Sarah beside him, holding a covered casserole dish. "Jesus, Richard," Sarah said, stepping in. "This place looks like it came out of Architectural Digest." Before he could answer, headlights filled the driveway. Tom and Linda, then the Webbs, then the Hendersons. Within minutes, the foyer buzzed with laughter. Coats being shed. Compliments flying. "Richard, you've outdone yourself. Are those imported marble counters? Please tell me you have that tiramisu." The house once silent was alive. They moved into the living room. Champagne glasses clinked. Firelight danced across smiling faces. Jazz played softly in the background. The kind of Christmas soundtrack that doesn't try too hard, just belongs. Richard floated through the space like a man reborn. No one asked him for anything. No one calculated what they could take. They were just there, to share joy, to celebrate him. Linda leaned in and whispered, "You deserve this, every bit of it." He didn't reply, just smiled, because for the first time in years, he believed it. It happened halfway through dessert. Richard's phone buzzed. A single vibration against his leg. He didn't look right away. Too caught up in a conversation about retirement plans in Tuscany. But then it buzzed again. And again. 3 times in 1 minute. He pulled it out, saw the name. Emily. His breath caught. He excused himself, gently stepping into his home office. "Hello, what the hell is this, Dad?" Her voice was sharp, accusing, loud enough that he instinctively stepped away from the door. "Patricia Webb just posted pictures. You threw a Christmas party without us." He stayed calm, measured. "You said you didn't want to spend the holiday with me." "That's not what I meant, and you know it." Silence, except her breathing, fast angry. "You went behind my back. You invited everyone but your own family. I invited people who wanted to be here." Then came the question. The real one. Where did this house come from? Where did you get that kind of money? And in that moment, Richard saw it clearly. She wasn't hurt, she wasn't left out. She was shocked, because for the first time, she realized she couldn't control him anymore. "This is insane, Dad." Emily's voice cracked. But it wasn't from pain. It was fury. "You lied. You have a villa in Scottsdale, a wine cellar, a fireplace that looks like it belongs on HGTV. Richard didn't flinch, didn't offer apology, didn't offer explanation. "You never asked how I was doing. Only what I could give. Silence. We are your family, and you left us out." He let that sit, then answered. "You didn't leave me out, Emily. You cut me off. You made space for my money, not for me." Another pause. Then her tone shifted sharp cold. "You know this looks shady, right? You're hiding assets, throwing parties while claiming you're retired and broke. If you don't tell me the truth about this property, I swear I'll call the authorities." Richard blinked, not in fear, but in realization. She wasn't trying to come home. She was trying to reclaim control. "You go ahead," he said softly. "Call whoever you need to. Just know this, Emily, I'm not the one who's afraid of exposure anymore." The knock came just after 8:30 p.m. Guests were sipping wine. Frank Sinatra played softly. The tiramisu was half eaten. Then 3 loud knocks. Richard opened the door. 2 uniformed officers stood beside Emily, her arms crossed, her expression smug. "Sir," one officer said, calm but firm, "we've received a report regarding financial concealment and elderly endangerment." Behind them, Emily spoke up, loudly, enough for guests to hear. "He's been acting erratic. He didn't tell us about this property. He may be hiding assets from family. I'm worried about his mental health." A gasp came from the dining room. Sarah stepped closer, whispering, "What the hell is going on?" Richard stayed calm. Looked at the officers, then at his daughter. "You came to my house, on Christmas, with police, after telling me I wasn't welcome in yours." The officer blinked. "Sir, are you under any distress? No. But I do have cameras, and recordings, and witnesses." He stepped aside, gestured to the guests. "Please come in, you'll find laughter food, and a woman trying to weaponize family law." Emily's face fell. She hadn't expected this version of him. Confident, prepared, and no longer hers to control. One of the officers stepped forward. "Sir, do you have any documents proving ownership of this home?" Richard didn't flinch. He reached calmly into a drawer near the foyer, pulled out a black folder. Inside, the deed bank transfers tax receipts, title insurance. Fully paid, all under my name. No liens, no co-owners. The officer nodded, flipping through quickly. His tone changed. "Everything seems in order." Emily took a step forward. "But he didn't tell us. That should count for something." The younger officer raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am, he's a private citizen. He's not obligated to tell family about his personal assets." Silence. Emily's eyes widened, her face turned red. Then Richard spoke again. Soft, but lethal. "If you're worried about inheritance, don't be." He pulled out a second envelope. Thicker, stamped and notarized. "This is my updated will. You were in it, but after tonight I've revised a few things." Her lips parted. No words came out. "My lawyer has the official copy, so if you were planning on contesting it," he smiled, "you'll have to wait in line behind people who actually care about me." One of the guests clapped, then another. Soon the room erupted with applause. The officers gave a respectful nod and walked out the door. "Emily." She stood frozen, like a child who just realized. Her safety net had cut itself free. Emily stood in the middle of the room. No one approached her. She looked around, expecting someone to defend her. But all she saw were backs turned, eyes avoiding hers. Robert crossed his arms. Sarah shook her head in disappointment. Tom walked past her, muttering, just loud enough, "Not everything's about money, Emily." Even Patricia, warm and gentle, whispered, "He deserved this night, and you ruined it." Emily's mouth opened, then closed. No words, no defense. Richard, meanwhile, poured himself another glass of wine, sipped it slowly, then placed the glass down. He walked toward the fireplace, took a framed photo from the mantel, him and Emily, years ago. Back when love was real. Back when respect was mutual. He handed it to her. "You can keep this. Maybe one day you'll remember who I really was." She clutched it like it burned. He turned to his guests. "Thank you all for coming, and thank you for reminding me who I am." Applause again. Not wild, but strong. Earned. Richard didn't say goodbye. He didn't need to. He stepped out onto the patio, looked up at the Arizona stars, and for the first time in 30 years, he felt completely free. The fireplace crackled. Outside, snow fell gently across the deck. Richard sat by the window, a journal on his lap, a pen in hand. He'd lived quietly this past year, no drama, no demands, just peace. Gardening in the mornings, volunteering at the local shelter on weekends, book clubs, bridge nights, trips to Montana, New Hampshire, and Rome. He looked younger, laughed more, breathed easier, but tonight something stirred. A thought he hadn't visited in months, so he opened a fresh page and began writing. "Dear Emily, I hope you're well. I truly do. This past year has taught me more about love than I ever imagined, because for once, I gave it back to myself." He paused, listened to the wind. "I don't hate you, I never did, but I had to walk away to finally stand up. If you ever want to talk not about money, not about wills, but about life or books or memories that still matter, you know where I am." He signed it, folded it, placed it in an envelope, not to send, but to let go. And as he watched the snow fall quietly, Richard smiled. Because forgiveness doesn't always need a response. Sometimes it just needs space to bloom. His phone rang. It was late past 11 p.m. Christmas Eve. Richard glanced at the screen, paused. "Emily." He didn't answer right away. Let it ring. Once, twice. Then he picked up. "Hello." Silence, then a shaky breath. "Dad?" Just one word. Soft. No venom, no demands. "Yes, I'm sorry." She didn't rush, didn't try to explain. Just let the words sit. Richard leaned back in his chair, eyes closed. "Thank you for saying that," he said. "It means more than you know." Silence again, but this time not awkward. "I saw photos of your garden," she added. "It's beautiful." He smiled gently. "You should see it in spring." No promises, no grand reconciliations, just two people, relearning how to speak without hurting. "Merry Christmas, Emily." "Merry Christmas, Dad." The call ended. Richard sat still for a while, letting the warmth sink in, because sometimes the real revenge is choosing peace when you finally know your worth. Sometimes the deepest pain doesn't come from enemies. It comes from those we once called family. Richard spent decades believing that love meant sacrifice, that being a good father meant giving, even when nothing was given back. But love without respect is not love, it's dependency dressed as loyalty. This Christmas wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about proving a point. It was about reclaiming something he lost years ago, his self-worth. We're taught to be patient, to keep giving, to believe blood is thicker than betrayal. But there comes a moment when silence becomes survival. When walking away isn't giving up, it's finally standing up. Richard didn't burn bridges. He simply stopped building them alone. And in doing so, he discovered something powerful. Peace isn't found in applause or validation. It's found in quiet mornings, in laughter not weighed down by expectation, in friendships chosen not inherited. Forgiveness, he gave it freely, but trust that had to be earned. So if you've ever felt like Richard, used, ignored, replaced, let this story remind you. You are not selfish for choosing yourself. You are not cruel for drawing a line. Because sometimes the most powerful revenge is a life well lived with people who truly see you. Have you ever been treated like a background character in your own life? Like no matter how much you gave, it was never quite enough. Maybe your love was taken for granted. Maybe your silence was mistaken for weakness. If so, you're not alone. There are countless Richards out there, fathers, mothers, siblings, friends, people who gave everything and received nothing but silence in return. But the moment you say enough is the moment healing begins. Let us know in the comments. Have you ever had to walk away from someone you loved just to protect your own peace? Your story matters, and you never know, someone reading your words might feel less alone tonight. If this story touched you, don't forget to subscribe for more powerful real-life lessons. Because here, we don't just tell stories. We remind you you deserve to be seen, heard, respected. And if no one has told you this today, you are enough just as you are. Thank you for watching. Until next time, take your power back and write your own ending.